Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants that have joined in for this session. This is Mayank Agarwal, working as a senior R development consultant with Propogia. Before we get started, let me start sharing my screen. So today we're going to talk about the enhancing efficiency and workflow for biostats team. This entire presentation is going to be focused on phase 2 trials, which we are going to take as a case study for the analysis. Phase 2 trials are nothing but they answer the question, does drug X improve disease Y? Basically, what quantity of drug X works better on disease Y? Is it 1 mg? Is it 2 mg? Is it 3 mg? Or what is the quantity? Or does drug X work better on disease Y when taken once or twice or thrice a day? Phase 2 clinical trials assess the safety and efficacy of a new drug or a drug combination for a very specific medical condition. The overall goal is to determine the appropriate dose and treatment plan for phase 3 testing. So phase 2 comes after phase 1 and is a precedent to phase 3. Phase 2 is again divided into two phases, phase 2A and phase 2B. Phase 2A involves very fewer patients. Generally, the sample size is from 100 to 300 patients, and this focus on the dose response relationship and optimal dosing frequency. So what does the dose response relationship and optimal dosage frequency means? So dose response relationship is nothing but how increasing dose increments, correlates to the increase in the response, and optimal dosing frequency is the ideal schedule for administrating a treatment to achieve the best results with minimum side effects. And phase 2B is rigorously assessing the drug's effectiveness in disease treatment, prevention, and diagnosis. So the overall goal of phase 2 trials is to assess the therapeutic effectiveness in a very specific patient group for potential phase 3 study. This is used to assess, and review safety parameters for any potential adverse events that might have been missed in a particular patient group in phase 1 trials. So phase 2 trials are generally used to perfect the drug for all types of people in the sample. So there are multiple challenges with these trials, since every new combination of drug or every new dose increment of drug means the entire simulation workflow has to be redone, the entire analysis and the reports has to be redone. This often leads to delayed analysis and reporting and longer study times, which are typically in years because the iterations are much faster and the number of patient groups are too much, and then the simulations to find the variations are also too much, so that we always get a perfect drug in the market with minimum side effects, because of which there's a delayed time to market. And all of this results in hindered workflows, which has a lower productivity, and a lot of these processes are repeated and boring for the biostats working on it. Some of the key issues are, all of these processes are manual processes. They have lengthy simulation times. They have very limited collaboration, and because of which there are obviously reporting challenges, very low flexibility, and because of which the reproducibility sometimes is consistent, sometimes it's not. So how do we meet those challenges? To meet or to empower biostats, with the discipline to do their work with the right set of tools to increase their efficiency. For this, we collaborated with biostats to understand their pain points, workflows, and challenges in their current system. We then developed an operational workflow which was rooted in agile development methodology with a focus on empowering biostats at its core. So all these tools of agile development framework was built around biostats to help biostats increase their efficiency, reproducibility, and productivity among the entire team. We were able to achieve the reproducible workflows with our studio projects, get R Shiny, R as the preferred language of development, because biostats were creating the algorithms in R and using package management tools like RANV, and always relying on published and managed grant packages. We were able to scale these applications by using some of the software engineering principles right from day one, because we knew we would be building multiple applications to help Now, multiple workflows of the biostat team. Some of the software engineering principles are, dry, don't repeat yourself, meaning if there is a script that needs to be utilized more than once, it's always a good idea to convert it to a function and then, later use it at appropriate places. Go a step further and convert these functions to R shiny modules so that you could implement the same feature into multiple applications. Uh, Another principle was to keep it simple. Some of the simplest things doesn't always need complicated code to do it. You could always use simple, straightforward code to do it, and then using it with Git branching, terminologies or Git branching strategies. We also improved their automated interactive reporting framework, and we were able to cut down the reporting time from few weeks to few days because all the information that they needed was right there in the application. All the inputs, all the simulation results, all the visualizations that were produced were available to them in the form of report at the click of a button. The report would have dynamic bits and it would have static bits, which were in line with the organizational color scheme and this FDA submission template that they would use. We also implemented automated testing framework for getting validated analysis results every time and to have, very stress-free deployments and stress-free production releases. This entire workflow operated like a well-oiled machine, effectively engaging biostats with the discipline and empowering them with new tools in their ever-expanding ecosystem. So how did we start for this framework? We defined the scope of each process of their workflow, and then we documented the repetition rate, importance, investment in terms of time, effort that they needed for each workflow. Then we identified the most time consuming, yet most simplest workflow so that we could develop an MVP or a minimum viable product across this simplest yet time consuming workflow. And so that the biostats could showcase this as a demo to their team list, to their managers and the higher ups so that they could visualize what would be the impact in terms of cost saving, time saving, and faster results if this is scaled up. We then integrated workflows and feature requests from smaller to larger as we proceeded week on week. This helped us to continuously improve the process through very rapid iterations, responding to user feedback and taking into account their ideas and feature requests on every sprint. Some of the framework principles that we used to implement this was to always use prototyping, to always use UI prototyping using draw.io tools so that we could we could discuss on a similar language. We could explain what would the UI of the application would look like, how the application UX will feel like, and that everybody would agree or give us a give us tips to how to update it or would agree to take forward with the development. We also spent a lot of time to establish a standard application layout so that which was in line with the organization color scheme, because we were building multiple applications or we would have scale, and these applications needed to look the way the other applications looked, and kind of we updated the entire UI of that so that it was always enterprise enterprise ready, which was also production grade. We then created smaller independent POCs of proof of concepts right from day one till till the project was running up. We treated each new request as a smaller proof of concept so that we could go back to the biostats, show them what they needed, and then get their approval, or we could fix if it was not working as then. And once the entire proof of concept was finalized, we would, as it would be a plug and play development, we would take that and integrate it into main application instead of wasting a lot of time into working on one product. And because of this, we were able to create on multiple POCs with multiple developers to have multiple workflows working concurrently. And all of these POCs would also be then developed into different branches so that everything could be merged with the software principles of Git as well. We would always define the reactivity of our application, which would generally be a waterfall reactivity model, which, as the name suggests, one event will trigger the other event, which will then trigger the other event in a similar fashion as water flows from top to bottom in a waterfall. We always prioritize user friendliness. If it was not intuitive, it was not easy, it won't be used. There's no point in developing an application, spending millions of dollars on it for a year if we don't have any user base, versus You create faster prototypes, faster applications where the user onboards very rapidly, and you scale it up with their user requests, and you prioritize those based on need, impact, effort, and complexity of the application or feature request. Uh, in the process, we also realized the need for consistent reporting, which we achieved through parameterized markdown reports, which would then churn out dynamic MS reports following organizational templates for FDA submissions. So these reports would have dynamic contents in terms of the simulation attributes that the analyst would put in and the output results that we will get and the visualizations. But the write-ups for most cases would be same in terms of what was in terms of hypothesis and other bits of the report. So during this entire framework, we were able to streamline our workflow using some of the standard, by adopting standard coding principles and agile project management. So there are tools for the trade was obviously Shiny for building very faster web applications straight from the R, which was the preferred language for our biostats. We were able to enhance collaboration with biostats, to seamlessly integrate TLGs or table listings and graphs, which also help us to enable real-time updates with very quick release cycles, one release every quarter, which was very crucial for adapting to evolving trial needs and adopting new feature requests which were coming in like fire. Through this process, we were able to enhance the overall decision-making process through these interactive tools. And as mentioned earlier, we use RENV for package management to ensure reproducibility across teams, across systems, and we also relied on CRANs. So once we built the application, how did we enhance or how did we enable scalability? So as discussed, we implemented a lot of functional programming and modularization for plug and play development format across applications. Features from multiple applications could be taken up and could be built into a new application with a few tweak at the end process, or existing applications could be updated in terms of modular approach, and that module then could be implemented across applications. So this helped us save a lot of time and helped the team to develop very faster. We were able to integrate multiple studies using standard Git branching strategies, which involved multiple concurrent developers and biostats. So each branch had a pair of one biostat and one R developer to help them from the business point of view and from the technical point of view. So 5 teams would work concurrently on a release cycle for 5 different studies. They would implement it and test it, and everything would be merged to the development branch, and then everything would be tested rigorously. We also implemented async programming to evaluate longer simulations in separate R processes so that our application could be free from usage for other features. We took it a step further and we deployed our functions, simulation functions as APIs internally with Plumber. And always write your own custom JavaScript and R bindings for implementing unique features. And then the key insight in this is always approach user requests in terms of a blend of web development, software engineering, and R development. If you just think outside the box, most of these features would be very easy to implement. Next is we ensured reproducibility with automated testing framework. So testing is nothing but inputs and expected outputs. You write test cases. You could implement different types of testing in an application, which could be unit testing, functional testing, integration testing, or end-to-end testing. Specifically for R, you could use test.dat for backend testing, or for unit testing. You could use Shiny Test 2 for front-end testing, or UI or UX testing, and Shiny Load testing for load testing, which is basically mimicking multiple users at the same time on your server to see if your server scales up or scales down as it is supposed to. We also implemented the continuous integration of this testing with Git branching. So as soon as the self-development branches would be merged to development and then to master or main, the automated pipeline for testing would kick off and we would get all the test results within few minutes. Some of the key benefits of this was, we were able to identify bugs very early. We had increased speed and efficiency. We were able to do consistent and repeatable testing and increase our test coverage. We were able to take into account the test cases written from the day one of the testing to the most latest features, so that we were not kind of omitting any testing edge case that might have been omitted in a manual testing process. This also helped us do a lot of regression testing capabilities, and which would eventually lead us to much greater confidence in our releases, and these releases will be very stable. So building, implementing a framework, building an application is just one side of the story. If you don't have users, the entire game is of no use, or the entire, there no business value. So how do you enhance the user adoption? So for that, first you need to invest a lot of time to create an in-depth GitHub README, providing comprehensive project reproducibility instructions for both from the biostats point of view and from the R developer point of view. So this acts as a self-help, onboarding guide for them, so that you don't spend time on giving KTs or knowledge transfers. You include the application workflows in terms of GIFs in the announcement emails, in GitHub, or in the application as separate tabs, so that this quick 1 minute screenshot videos would help the user to understand how the application works, how you are supposed to play with that, and get your analysis results. The advantage of this is it saves a lot of time. This is not memory heavy, and this is right there for for people to refer at. We also created detailed application interaction screenshots and highlight for each steps, and then recorded them as a manual, which would then be stored in the application as a tab and also in these announcement emails. We would obviously conduct regularly quarterly training sessions after every release to provide guidance, answer questions, or assist users with any new feature. These training sessions would be recorded and shared with them for easier revisit, which would be shared on public on a private intranet SharePoint folder for everybody to use. We continuously engaged with the user base for a better ROI, or return of investment, and onboarding. And we always had a team of 2 to 3 application champions which were available for their queries or requests. So at any point of time, the end user can reach out to a specific team's helpline, and they could ask how to use this feature. So the application champion could then get on a 5 or 10-minute quick call, explain them, and if it's a new request, they could record them to update our FAQs, write up, and the videos as well, and then help them onboard, so that that end user also acts as our marketing agent. So the earlier he understands or she understands, the better, the earlier he'll talk to his or her colleagues, and the earlier that process kicks off, the earlier we get more users. And during this cycle, we would be able to prioritize most requested user uses, request features for each sprint, so that we give people what they really want. So that's all for my talk. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It was great to talk about this framework. All these slides are available at GitHub at bit.ly rpharma 2023. And feel free to contact or send me a DM to follow up on any of these slides, or just talk in general. You could reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter or Mastodon, based on your social presence. Thank you so much and have a nice day. Thank you.